Time for the main event. We got the returning Thiago Santos, who hasn't competed since he fought John Jones for the title and lost a split decision back at UFC 239. I want to say it is, yeah, 239. So it's been over 50 months since we've seen him compete, close to 16 months. He's going up against the ever-tested and never aging, I should call it, Glover Teixeira. Let's go over the odds real quick. It's minus 220 for Thiago Santos, plus 180 for Glover Teixeira, who now finds himself on the better end of a 4-fight winning streak. Beating the young guns, if you want to call it that, Carl Roberson, Iwan Kutilaba, Nikita Krylov, and then Anthony Smith last time around in a fight where complete beatdown after that, pretty much the midway point of that second round. So I am recording this on the Thursday before fight week. So the odds may have shifted at this point in time. And I did put a poll out there to get a better grasp of what the public is thinking when it comes to this fight, or who at least they think is going to win this fight. And let's go over that poll real quick. So it's been close to 24 hours since I put it out. And in terms of the results, close to 200 votes. We got 9 minutes left in the poll, which is hilarious. But close to 200 votes. We got 70% for Thiago Santos and 30% for Glover Teixeira. And I'm just quickly retweeting it out there to see if I can get any more by the time this breakdown finishes, since we got 8 minutes left in it. But let's go over Thiago Santos first and foremost. So like I said, he's coming off a loss to John Jones, a split decision loss, a very close fight, a fight that, not a style that not a lot of people predicted him to go in there with. That's a fight where I believe I had John Jones inside the distance as my main play, and it was probably one of the most infuriating performances that you could ever see. Especially from somebody that considers themselves to be the GOAT. And I understand wanting to go out there and kind of just sling it out in, your opponent's realm to kind of just showboat a little bit more. John Jones was saying he wanted to go out there and just like compete in the Muay Thai realm to out Muay Thai a Muay Thai fighter. And that's kind of been his, MO for a lot of his performances, going out there and grappling against Chosun, or going out there and just even grappling against Daniel Cormier as well. He wanted to show off that he could take him down. But when you see a fighter as hurt as Thiago Santos, we know that Thiago Santos tore his ACL in that fight, absolutely butchered his knee, yet John Jones is still going out there making this fight a lot closer than it should have been. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the second, maybe third round where we saw Thiago Santos start to limp and start to hobble a bit on that knee, and that's, it was pretty evident that John Jones was aware of that as well. Jones went for a takedown in the first round, but never decided to go to the grappling after that, because I think a lot of people are convinced that if John Jones decided to get that fight to the ground, he was more than likely going to be able to get the finish there, whether it's ground and pound or a submission of some sort. But he just didn't decide to go to it. And we saw a pretty level-headed Thiago Santos, considering the fact that his knee was torn up. We still saw him throwing leg kicks out there, still saw him throwing those blitzing combinations, but he was a little bit more reserved than we're used to seeing him. In the Jimmy Manuel fight, we saw him drop and rock Jimmy Manuel pretty much right off the bat and just go guns blazing. That's kind of what his style is. But we saw, even in the Jan Blachowicz fight, we saw him a little bit more calculated, not really going guns blazing or anything like that, knowing that it could potentially go 5 rounds. But luckily for him, we saw him get the finish 39 seconds into that third round. And that was a great performance. And in my personal opinion, that's probably the best performance that we've seen from him. I say that because in the John Jones fight, we saw a good performance from him, but I also think that it's the diminishing talent of John Jones that we were seeing in that fight too. Just as we saw him go to a close fight with close-ish fight with Anthony Smith, even how we saw him go with a close fight with Dominic Reyes, and then when we saw Dominic Reyes go out there and fight Jan Blachowicz, we saw him get put out and completely styled on for the majority of that fight up until the point he got finished. So I think we might see the same thing here with Thiago Santos, and not to add to the fact that this is going to be the first time we're seeing Thiago Santos come back after a huge and pretty severe knee injury. Like I said, that ACL injury, it can hobble and really debilitate a lot of people's careers after they come back from them. I'm trying to think off the top of my head one of the fighters that it's happened to, but there are a ton of fighters that, they've had severe knee injuries and they've never come back really looking the same. And this is a tough test to come back to against Glover Teixeira, who's, he's going to be there. He is a durable fighter. A lot of people want to shit on the fact that, Glover Teixeira is a chinny fighter. He hasn't been knocked out in nearly 3.5 years when Alexander Gustafsson finished him in the 5th round of a very competitive fight. Since then, like Glover, like I said, Glover Teixeira has looked pretty damn fucking good. Carl Roberson rocked him, trying to get him to the ground. Obviously, we saw Glover Teixeira overcome that and then get Carl Roberson down, all within 3 minutes and 21 seconds. He got rocked, took Roberson down, took full mount pretty much immediately, and then eventually sunk in that arm triangle choke. Beautiful finish there. And then Iwan Kutilaba, had a little bit of success with that spinning back fist, landed perfectly on Glover Teixeira. Glover rocked a bit. Didn't get dropped, but he did get rocked, and then we saw him come back and finish off Ion Kutilaba in that second round too. The Nikita Krylov fight was a taxing fight. We saw that a lot of it play out in the grappling realm, and we saw more often than not Glover Teixeira getting the better of the positions against a much younger Nikita Krylov. And then in the Anthony Smith fight, he almost pulled off like a Homer Simpson type approach, where for that first 7.5 minutes, he allowed Anthony Smith to, he didn't allow. I'll give Anthony Smith the benefit of the doubt there, where he was just, landing pretty much at will. He was a much quicker fighter. 1-2 crisps down the middle. His jab was looking really good. His leg kicks were looking really good too. But then once that activity started to catch up with Anthony Smith, there was no way he was going to be able to go that pace for 25 minutes. And, it's going to take a lot more than that to put away Glover Teixeira. Once that started to catch up to Anthony Smith, that's where we saw Glover Teixeira start to, take off. Yeah, he's a little bit rudimentary with the striking in terms of, just having a straight right, a left hook, and sometimes a rear uppercut, but it's effective at times. When guys are immobile and guys are tired of trying to beat the shit out of Glover Teixeira turns it on and he starts to make these guys drown. He starts to make them swim, and then they start to drown. And that's what Glover Teixeira is known for. He just turned 41 years old yesterday, so I believe it's October 28th. He turned 41 and put out an Instagram video. The guy looks great. He looks in phenomenal shape. And luckily for these older guys, the 205 and heavyweight are kind of divisions where you can be the older guy and you can still go out there and get some victories. It's middleweight and down where you really have to be in your youthful peak, in my opinion, to be at the top of the weight class. But luckily for Glover Teixeira, this is a perfectly timed fight for him to go out there and face Thiago Santos, who, again, like I said, is coming off a very significant injury. That ACL injury is just not good. They were scheduled a couple times post-COVID now to fight. Glover tested positive for COVID in their September fight. Santos tested positive for COVID in their October fight. And now here they are once again a month later. Hopefully, knocking on wood, they don't contract the COVID in this amount of time between the breakdown and the fight actually happening. But I love Glover Teixeira at this price, and it seems like his price is only going to continue to get better. Thiago Santos minus 220 coming off a severe knee injury, and I think it's kind of like the Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz fight. I think a lot of people are overstating how good Dominic Reyes was and how good Thiago Santos was because of how close of fights they had with John Jones. I kind of understand that narrative, but again, John Jones just doesn't really seem to be putting his foot on the gas like he used to during the pre-USADA, if you even want to call it that. Maybe it's the lack of testosterone or drugs that are in his body now that are making him fight closer to the competition that the 205 or closer to the level of competition that the 205 division is at. But Glover is always going to be there. He's always going to be chugging along. We know he's fully there. We know he can take a shot. He got dropped in that Carl Roberson fight, but again, like I said, the last time he got finished was 3.5 years ago against Alexander Gustafsson. And Thiago Santos hasn't notoriously been like a one-punch knockout power kind of guy. It's an overwhelming amount of strikes that he has to land on you to really get you out of there. He's not like, dink, and sleeping guys. That's not what's happening. And I think that Glover Teixeira could handle whatever Thiago Santos is going to be throwing his way. And again, this is 5 rounds. This is Glover's realm. He could go that full 5 rounds. He could make Thiago Santos swim and drown. I'm fully I'm very very confident in Glover here. I love him at the dog odds, and I love that his odds continue to get better. And one more thing about Thiago Santos, his fight against Jimmy Manuwa rocks him right off the bat. And what does Jimmy Manuwa do? He takes him down. with relative ease too. Let's not forget about that. But obviously it was a little bit harder for him to keep him down. But I expect if Glover Teixeira gets Thiago Santos down, he has probably one of the best top pressure, top games, top jiu-jitsu games in the game. Especially at 41 years old, you still see him floating above guys, passing guards, taking backs, trying to stay one step ahead of his opponents whenever they're trying to shift. In the Nikita Krylov fight, he had a beautiful back take. It's crazy how mobile this guy still is on the ground at 40 and 41 years of age, and I still think he's going to be able to, he will be able to control Thiago Santos on the ground, and I think he could make Thiago Santos start to panic, start to stress out, start to gas out, and then we see Glover Teixeira really start to take over in the later rounds. But I love Glover in this spot. I love him by submission. I can't wait to see what that prop is, and especially the more money that continues to come in on Thiago Santos here, the more confident I'm going to be in Glover Teixeira. So I'm personally waiting. It's taken the best of me right now not to pull the trigger on Glover Teixeira at plus 180. I can get him at plus 182 currently at Bookmaker. I'm just going to sit back. I truly believe that we'll see that plus 200 line at minimum, and that's where I'm going to take my shot. I'm taking at least a 2-unit shot here on Glover Teixeira. I'm happy to share that with you guys right now, but I'm more than happy there. And considering the poll results, so we got final results, 218 votes, 72% of people are on Thiago Santos, and 28% of people are on Glover Teixeira. To me, that makes me think that the odds are slowly going to get better on our guy Glover Teixeira. So I'm just going to wait it out and see what kind of line we get. But I love Glover in this spot. He's truly going to go out there and remind people that Thiago Santos is not a guy to bet on at this minus 220, possibly closing at minus 250 spot, coming off a major surgery. I love Glover here. So I'm taking Glover Teixeira, probably third round submission, maybe second round. I think he could get away with it too. But I love Glover to win this spot. Like I said, Glover Teixeira by second or third round submission.